Hey there, paddlers. I am Rod Clayton with the Paddle Channel, and I am very excited about the video I get to share with you today. I recently had the opportunity to sit down with Alessia Faverio and Bruce Poacher of Epic Kayaks. We talked about a number of things, and we're going to get several videos out of that conversation, but today I'm going to share with you the portion of the conversation where we talk about the fourth generation V10. Now, if you've been around the sport of surf ski anytime at all, you know that the V10 is just sort of a keystone boat in the sport of surf ski, especially for age group paddlers and non-pro paddlers like myself and like most of our viewers. So with that in mind, I'm going to key right into the conversation here. I hope you enjoy it. This is pretty exciting. I'm really looking forward to getting into one of those V10s. Yeah, let's talk about the new V10.
Well, I'll start with why the V10 is such an important boat for Epic. It was the first boat, the first Surfski. Before that, Epic was Epic Paddles, and then it was Epic Kayaks. And the first kayaks made were the GPX, which is a 12-foot 9, flat water kayak. Then we did a 16-foot boat and an 18-foot boat touring kayaks. Sit inside with hatches. They were called the Explorer and the Endurance, I think. So, yeah, anyway. But the first Surfski we made was the V10. The name V10, I think a lot of people know it, but for those that don't, it's the 10th version of the design. The boat was designed in CAD. And a lot of us do it. I do it when you creating a document and then you edit it, you just change it to V2, V3. And it was actually V10 that was, okay, we now believe that we've got everything we need, the combination of speed, stability, maneuverability. This is the boat. And that was it. So then they, cut the plug on a CNC machine and laminated the first molds and made the boat. So because it's our first boat, it's important to us, which is why it's the first boat to reach generation 4. Even though we tweak some of the racing boats, like the V12 has had a shorter life than the V10 because it only came to being quite a bit later. It's had a few generations because we want to tweak things there. But the V10, important boat. So it was quite a historical boat. It was the first sort of commercially made boat that had a single footwell. That had tool-free, self-adjusting pedals and steering lines and things like that. So there was some real innovation on the original V10, and we've just tried to keep the boat at the forefront. Something that you may have noticed is stability has actually increased. The first V10 was a race boat. It's won
It's a
several
fast
dollar
boat. What year was that? Was that 2005, 2003?
Something about that. I actually don't know. I'm
Okay.
sorry, I can't. I can
I
look
think
up
that's what it is. I
back.
think that's what we determined because that was Barry's first boat here at
Okay.
the Paddle Channel,
Yeah.
and it was an interesting boat for him to learn in because
Oh
it
yeah.
fell probably 10 to 20 times every time we went out.
Well, in
Didn't
the
mind
early
it
days
though.
of Surfski, that was it. The only boats out there were race boats.
What?
Um,
Yeah, we joke around. We say that kind of at that time, the attitude sort of was, well, if you can't paddle it, you really don't deserve to paddle it.
yeah,
So, and that's where where you guys have done a great job of creating boats that people can paddle,
yeah.
and
Well,
it's really helped grow the
the
sport.
V8 was really the change because that was the next boat that we made. After it was so it was the V10. Then we did the V10 Sport and the V10L. So the V10 Sport slightly more stable, but still not a beginner boat by any stretch. And then we came out with the V8, and that literally just opened the sport up to so many people. But anyway, so going back to it, as I said, the first V10 won Molokai a couple of times. It was an out-and-out race boat. The second V10, we actually managed to maintain the same hull speed, but in a more stable boat. Because basically what had happened is, in addition to just designing the boats in CAD, there was naval drag simulation software that came out. So we could design, Greg was designing boats, and then running the profiles, the CAD profiles against this drag simulation software. And we could see, for a given level of stability, how fast we could get it by moving the volume and changing the shape and things like that. So the second gen boat was quite a bit more stable, but as fast as, and then but it was more of a flat water boat. And then we had a bit more, some people saying, hang on, the legacy of the V10 is as a downwind performance boat. So then the Gen 3 came out with a bit more rocker, cockpit moved slightly further forward, a slightly shorter boat actually to make it more maneuverable. And then the Gen 4 continues on those trends. It's shorter. I mean, the original V10s are 21. It's now a 20-foot boat. So a full foot shorter. It's got more rocker. The G4 is slightly wider, so it is more stable than the Gen 3. So it's the most stable of the V10s so far. And we've put the bow from the new Gen 3 V12 onto it, because everyone that's used that boat, myself included, absolutely love the way it surfs. So it's got that rounded bow. It suffers less from the windage, and I found it amazing in particularly doing downwinds in Cherokee Reservoir. So 2 to 3 foot, reasonably short period. That V12 bow just seemed to climb over the next wave with much more ease than other boats. So it stalled less. So we've incorporated that. So yeah, the Gen 4 V10 it's really a boat that's designed to have, it's got a bit more stability, so it can let people who weren't quite there with the previous generations of the V10 get into a very high performance boat. And it is just going to be a fantastic surfing boat, being that foot shorter, a bit more rocker, and the new bow. I'm really excited to get into it. I mean, I can paddle. I usually downwind in a V11 or a V12, but there are times when, if I haven't been to the coast for 3 or 4 months because I live 5 hours away now and it's cold, I'm going to grab that V10 because I don't want to be falling in. So that extra bit of stability is fantastic. And I don't foresee actually losing much speed. I mean, once you're downwinding, well, unless you're in a tub, you're going the speed of the waves, basically. So
Right.
I think it's a boat that, to be honest, is going to do really well for us in Australia, because I don't know the exact statistics, but something like 90% of the Australian population live within 15 miles of the ocean or something like that. So, they've got much more access to downwinding and ocean conditions. So it's going to be a fantastic boat there. A lot of our customers here in the US are looking for a pure flat water speedboat. It might not be the perfect boat for them. But anyone that's got access to a body of water with more than a 7 or 8 mile catch on it, that's enough to get some downwinding in. It'll be a fantastic boat for them.
Well, now, so which brings the question, because now I'm really excited about it getting here. When's it going to be available in the US?
We've got a very limited number coming in. I think you said it was May. Hang on, yeah,
late May, early June,
and
for
then
demo boats.
and then a couple of months later, some more. Unfortunately, we just couldn't get them ready for all our preseason containers.
All right.
If you placed an order, you could see by the end of summer, probably getting.
And what about Australia? I know we have a lot of viewers in Australia as well.
They've got Australia, being a different season to us, their timing, they've got a couple of containers that sort of
Nice.
were going now as the boats were coming off the production line, and they got their orders in first, to be honest. And so there is availability on the east coast of Australia, and I think west coast is not too far away.
Well, there we go. Maybe we can get somebody who's watching this who has one in Australia to catch up with the paddle channel. Maybe we can talk about it and their experience.
Absolutely. I mean, literally the boat is positioned exactly between, in terms of speed and stability, between the V9 and the V12.
My impression, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but my impression of the V10 has always been, and it sounds like this makes it even more so, it's just like the versatility boat. It's the one that does it. It just does it all.
I know in bicycling terms they call it the quiver of one or the quiver or something like that.
Yes.
You don't need, if you can only have one boat, the V10 is probably the boat to get because it's fast enough in flat water, but it's stable and forgiving enough in rough water, and it's just a fantastic surfing boat.
Really looking for. Oh, go ahead.
I also think it shouldn't be discounted as a flat water boat. I was down at a race in Mississippi this weekend, and there we had a lot of folks who had the stability to be in a V9 and were paddling V9s over an entirely flat water course because they didn't quite have the stability for the 11 or the 12. And that jump from the 9 to the 11 or the 12 as like a flat water boat, it's huge. But because we've slightly increased the stability of the 10, some of those people who couldn't sit in it before are probably going to be able to sit in it now. So if you are like a flat water racer that's looking to get out of your 9 to be up in that like next category, I think this V10 is it. And a lot of folks down there were like, oh, where's the new 10? Can I rent it for the race?
Everybody's wondering.
It's not here yet, but I'll be back next year so you can get in that 10.
Really looking forward to getting into one.